35 and after, 35 and later, your body doesn't want stricter rules. It doesn't want extremes. It doesn't want intensity. It wants meals that don't get skipped. Hello and welcome to another new episode of Emotional Eating Unwrapped. I'm your host, Alana Kessler, and I want to name something that you might have noticed or feel potentially if you're around 35 years old or older. And it usually sounds like this. It usually sounds like some internal voice inside that's saying like, I don't know, something just feels off. Something just feels off with my body. Not that something's broken. You're not feeling sick or anything like that. It just doesn't feel the same, right? I know I felt this, right? Potentially you can eat the same breakfast for years and now it just doesn't sit right with you so much anymore. Maybe you'll skip lunch or something came up, you skipped lunch, and instead of feeling totally fine and just not even noticing, you feel shaky or you feel annoyed or, you're just edgier than usual. Maybe it's like you're not hungry all day. You kind of just feel like you're just, you don't really have that strong feeling of hunger. And then at night, you just feel like a ravenous monster just took over your body, right? And quietly, in the back of your mind, you're thinking to yourself, oh my God, do I need to try harder now? Do I need to put more rules on myself? Do I need to, lock it down more, get more restrictive with myself? Maybe you worry that you're losing control. And then maybe even you're thinking like, is this just how it is once I hit a certain age? And, you're just confused, right? You just feel like the rug was pulled underneath you. So today I want to explain why your body feels different after 35 and also why your eating does too. And I hope that at the end of this episode, you have more clarity, you have more peace, and you walk away feeling like this isn't the end of the world and it's actually an opportunity to create something new. So really excited about this episode, but before I begin, if you're new to me, I want to introduce myself. My name is Alana Kessler. I am a registered dietitian. I've been in the health and wellness industry for about 2 decades. I've worked clinically. I've worked in functional nutrition. I owned a yoga studio for many years. I've been teaching yoga and mindfulness for almost 2 decades. I've done all the things, but my passion for the last decade or so has been helping people really find love with their body, lose weight, reconnect with themselves, overcome any kind of emotional or addictive behaviors with food, and just really live your best life. So if you are new here and this is your first time listening to me, welcome. If you have been listening for a while, welcome back. And let's get right into today's episode. All right, so let's clear something up. If your body feels different, after 35, it does not mean you failed. And if eating feels harder to manage, it does not mean that you suddenly lost discipline and you need to rein back in the discipline. Okay, your body did not turn against you. It just changed what it needs. Okay, and so let's talk about the reasons, right? Let's talk about the reasons. So the reason why things feel different, I'm going to go into 5 today. So the first reason why things feel different in your body and why eating feels different is because skipping meals, it just does not work the same way anymore. Okay, so here's what this looks like in real life. You wake up, you have your coffee, your tea, whatever your morning ritual is. Maybe you eat something small, then you get busy. Then something comes up in your day, you get busy, you tell yourself you'll eat later, right? This happens to so many people, especially people that I know listen to this podcast. We have super busy lives. And so you tell yourself you'll eat later, but instead of just being hungry, right? Instead of just feeling hungry, you start to feel irritated, lightheaded, anxious, right? And there's this like urgency, right? Like you need sugar now. There's an urgent and aggressive energy around your food thoughts. And you think to yourself, why can't I handle this like I used to? Why am I going off the rails? And you assume that something is wrong with you. But what's really happening is simple. Okay, when you were younger, your body could run on stress for a while, right? It can run on stress for a while without triggering a physiological response. Okay, this is science backed. But around 35, after 35, it doesn't want to anymore. Not saying that it doesn't do that, but it doesn't want to. Okay, it doesn't want to, and now it's starting to talk back a little. So when you don't eat within a certain time range, and this time range is different for everyone. Okay, I'm not the type of dietitian, nutritionist. I'm not the type of person that says you must eat 2 hours after you wake up and it needs to be this food and it needs to be this combination. I'm not like that. I'm not saying that. Everybody has a different, a different rhythm to their eating that they learn and that they know. And this is one of the things I teach people is how to find that rhythm, how to design and create that rhythm with yourself. But what's happening is if you don't eat within a certain time range, your body sends these kind of louder signals. Okay, so what this means is that it's not that your body's weaker. It's not that something is going off. It just, your body has less tolerance for inconsistency at 35 or later. Okay, around 35 years old or later. Okay, reason number 2, eating less makes your body push back harder, hard stop, regardless of what the motivation is. Okay, but we're going to talk about the motivation now in terms of like deciding to go on a diet. Okay, so eating less makes your body push back harder, whereas back in the day, maybe that didn't happen, right? So you decide to be good, right? You decide to be good, you eat lighter, less, right? You cut carbs, you eliminate stuff, you skip, you say I'm not having snacks anymore, whatever it is for you. And what happens is instead of feeling in control, right? Maybe you feel in control for like a day now, right? And maybe you used to feel in control, maybe you always felt in control when you were younger per se, until, maybe you had weeks where you felt in control, but now instead of feeling in control, you find yourself hyper focused on food, more distracted in general, and more likely to overeat later. Right? More likely to overeat later. And you used to think, and you think to yourself now, I used to do this all the time, right? I used to eat less. And, like I said before, I didn't notice that it sucked until like 3 months later when I started gaining all the weight back. Now you're noticing that it sucks way sooner, right? Way sooner. And here's why. After 35 or so, your body doesn't like mixed messages. Okay. Your body doesn't like mixed messages. Okay. If you eat in a way where you impact the volume of food for whatever reason, right? Like some days you eat less so you can quote unquote get back on track, and then you eat more other days. I'm not even saying like you're binging other days. I'm just saying that it's like, a regular amount of food, maybe a little bit more than usual, right? If you're having these types of days where your mindset is restriction and you have days where you're binging, it's just very chaotic, your body gets confused. The feelings of hunger, whether it's physical or emotional, they show up stronger, right? The cravings get louder. Food thoughts become more aggressive. They take up more space. Everything feels like it's kind of closing in on food thoughts. And what this means is that the food noise isn't you losing control. It's just what's happening is it's a message that your body is asking for more, for more steadiness. It wants something more solid to trust. It wants behaviors and rhythms that feel more predictable, right? Your body wants more predictability. And now I'm not saying this means that you have to eat the same thing in the same way and you can't have any days where it just happens to be that you eat less and some days you eat more. I'm not saying that it has to be the same every day, but it can't be these chasms of difference. It just can't be that way as much anymore. Your body just doesn't like that. It wants more predictability. Okay, the third reason is eating and hunger feels different or even weird because life is just heavier. Okay, life is just heavier. Like an example that I mean is like some days you're maybe not hungry at all, and other days you're super starving. I hear this a lot with people in my programs, women I've worked with. Maybe you eat a meal and you feel full, but you don't really feel satisfied. And this is something that I talk about a lot, the difference between being full and being satisfied. So maybe you think to yourself, my hunger cues are messed up, right? Maybe you think that there's something wrong with your hunger cues because your hunger feels totally all over the place and food just isn't doing, your meals just aren't doing it for you anymore, right? You're not getting that sense of satisfaction and it's causing you maybe to mindlessly overeat, or it's just creating behaviors and habits that you're just not happy with and it's not in service of your goals. But what's really happening here is that after 35, your hunger, and this is, and it could be younger for some people. So this isn't like a hard and fast rule, but for the most part, around 35 and after, what triggers your hunger is not, it's affected by more things. It's more sensitive, right? Your hunger, your hunger feelings are more sensitive. It's more about how you slept, how stressed you are, how much thinking and how much giving or caring or managing you did that day. Also, where you are in your cycle or where you are in your perimenopause or menopause journey, right? So all these things impact your hunger and your eating. Okay. Your body is just paying attention to more things now. So hunger shows up at different timings than they used to, or just differently altogether. And it doesn't mean that your hunger is broken. It's just reacting to more now than calories in, calories out. Okay. It's reacting to more than that. And it's impacted by more than that, right? Your circadian rhythm is impacted by more than, it was in your 20s. Okay. So before we go on to the next thing, the next reason, I just want to pause for a second and give a little shout out and ask you to rate the podcast 5 stars, leave a review, share an episode. When you do this, it just tells the platforms that our conversations that we're having here are worth circulating, and it helps so much. And it also helps us reach people who are struggling with this quietly, which so many people are. And I just get feedback all the time that this podcast helps people who do feel a little more shame around this now and are trying to heal in a more quiet space. So thank you so much for doing that. And if there's ever a topic that you want us to cover or something in this episode that spoke to you, you can let us know in the comments on YouTube. So subscribe there, Apple, leave us an anonymous voice note. In the show notes, there's a link to SpeakPipe, which is an anonymous voicemail software that we have where you can leave a question and we actually build future episodes based on what you share with us. So thank you so much in advance. You've built a good life. From the outside, it looks like you have it all together. You eat clean, you work hard, you take care of everyone, but there's this one area that still feels impossible to master, and that is food. You can eat perfectly all day and still end up in the kitchen at night wondering why you keep doing this. You promise yourself you'll start fresh tomorrow, and I know you mean it every single time. But the cycle, it always finds its way back, especially when you're stressed, when you're overwhelmed, or when you're just tired of being the one that's holding it all together. And I get it because I lived that way for years. And what I learned is this: the problem, it was never about food. It was the pressure underneath it, the perfectionism, the self-doubt, the part of me that never felt safe and secure to just be me. And that's why I created the sober eating sequence. It's a proven 3-phase method that rewires the emotional patterns and the belief systems driving overeating so you can relax, trust yourself around food, and release weight completely naturally, without force and without obsession. Because when your body feels secure, it lets go. The cravings quiet, the self-punishment, it softens, and food, it stops being the thing that you have to fix. This is not another plan. This isn't another rule book. It's It's a revolutionary transformation for your nervous system, for your body, and for your identity. So join the sober eating movement today. All right. Reason number 4. Your body is slower on purpose. Okay. And this can feel a little bit frustrating because, you might be doing all the right things. Okay. Sleeping, good meal, all these different things. You could be doing all the quote unquote right things, but weight loss feels hard. Right? Weight loss feels harder. Your body holds on to more, it feels like. Your body holds on to more, reacts so much more quickly to, more subtle, one-off things. And you think maybe my metabolism is just broken. But here's what's really happening. Your body has recalibrated, and now it's calibrated differently from, if you're listening to this, I'm sure you can relate to this from years of dieting, years of stress, and it just doesn't want to make changes to itself fast anymore, right? Our cellular intelligence, the way that our cells adapt over time, it just doesn't want to do things fast anymore, okay? It wants regularity, like regular high quality meals, right? It wants enough food during the day for the most part, right? It wants the same patterns most days, okay? And, it doesn't want another shock to its metabolism with like something extreme, right? Like a detox or a diet or like Whole30 or something crazy, it doesn't want that anymore. Okay. So our body just moves slower after this phase, and that's what it wants. It's not fighting you by moving slowly, right? Sometimes we can think that, right? Like, oh my God, results are coming so slow. But that's not true. It's calibrated differently, and it's trying to keep you safe. It's trying to keep you healthy as you age and alive as you age. And the more that you can collaborate with your body in this stage, so the more that you can keep giving it safety and keep optimizing your behaviors to go along with this new calibration, results will come. 100%. I've seen that with myself. I see that with my clients. I'm 45 years old now. I say this often, that I feel and look the best, other than some, more lines and a little more cellulite. I definitely still feel the best, and my weight is, the best that it's ever been. So, this is definitely something that I follow myself. And reason number 5 is food feels good because you're tired. Okay, this is why eating is different after 35, because after 35, and again, like I said, it's not a hard rule. It could be earlier for some people, but we're just, taking this age as an average, right? After 35, life is full, right? There's more work, there's more responsibility, more people needing you, more decisions every day. And so that feeling of cravings or urgency at night, especially night eating or especially downtime, it's not because you have a character flaw or because you're weak. It's just because you're done. And I've talked about this in past episodes as well, but a lot of this changing, this changing relationship that we feel with our eating has so much to do with just the capacity is more stacked, right? Like our sense of, we're just so much more full emotionally. Our, the sense of feeling the responsibilities of life, they're just heavier. They just carry more weight. And our capacity is less. You're done deciding again. You're done thinking. You're done holding everything together. You're done making another choice, right? And the act of eating food gives your brain, while also giving you a sense of dopamine and all these different hormones and, these hormones that make you feel better. So emotional eating isn't a flaw. It's just a sign that you need rest, or you need care, or, and you need to figure out a way to expand your capacity. Just expand your capacity from the inside so that you have more space to hold your full life, right? A lot of people, when they're trying to come back to balance with themselves, start excluding things. But I think it's really important to learn how to keep everything included by expanding your internal capacity. That's something that's really important because we want to keep our full life. We want to be able to do and experience and enjoy and feel and, love all the things that we do in our lives that we've worked really hard for and deserve. So, what do all of these things have in common is that, 35 and after, 35 and later, your body doesn't want stricter rules. It doesn't want extremes. It doesn't want it doesn't want intensity. It wants meals that don't get skipped, right? And again, when I talk about meals, I'm not talking about that you have to have like a meal with, you have to have this complete meal every time. That's not what I mean, right? And in my eating strategies, I do not teach that way. And again, your definition of meals, you'll learn what your definition of meals are. But this is what it wants. It wants routine. It wants meals that don't get skipped. It wants, eating potentially maybe a little bit earlier or within a window, right? Within a window after you wake up instead of just waiting, having coffee and waiting until like midday, right? Your body wants less dogmatic thinking, less good or bad thinking, right? This is good, this is bad. It just doesn't want that. It wants you on its side, right? It doesn't want you to be fixing it anymore. It doesn't want you to make these extreme changes. It wants more steadiness, right? It wants you on its side. So what helps is not eating like you did at 25 or trying to, go back into the toolbox that you did in your 20s and do what you did then, right? What helps is cultivating presence, right? Cultivating presence and eating before you get starving. It's not skipping meals to make up for something that happened yesterday, right? It's keeping meals simple and regular. And this is the one that honestly is like my favorite thing. And if you really can internalize this, just makes such a big difference. It's letting eating be boring sometimes. Just letting eating be boring and learning how to enjoy boring eating. Okay, because boring eating is calm eating. Boring eating is calm eating. Okay, I'm not saying this has to be all the time, but I would say nice amount of time. Boring eating is calm eating, and calm eating is what your body understands at this stage of life. It's what your body optimizes, and it's really what your body wants. It wants it. Okay? It helps to optimize the metabolism. It wants it. Okay, so your body feeling different after 35 is not the beginning of decline. Okay, it's not the beginning of decline. It's not something is, it's not like your body is going off the reservation. There's no virus in the software or in the hardware. There's nothing wrong with that. What's happening is it's new information, right? It's new information so that you can evolve your relationship with yourself in a way that's self-loving. Okay, that's what your body feeling different is. That's what it is. It's just new information so that you can evolve your relationship with yourself in a way that is self-loving and really gets you the results that you're looking for. Because your body behaving differently is not a problem. Your body is just asking to be in a new conversation. It's asking to be listened to in a different way. And when you stop trying to fight it and start working with it, eating gets easier. It gets more enjoyable. Okay? The cravings relax, right? They become less intense. Your body stops feeling like it's pushing back all the time because you have a different perspective around it, right? It's not because you cracked some magic code, but because you finally gave your body what it's asking for and you're willing to adapt and approach it from a new place. That is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If you're interested in learning more about your relationship with food, maybe, why you're struggling in certain areas, we have a free quiz. You can find that link in the show notes. And until next time, I'm Alana, and thank you for listening to Emotional Eating Unwrapped.